Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. So my name is JoAnn Moy. I'm an artist. I have a background in graphic design. My art, it always has been something that I have had a passion for. But up until about a little over a year ago, I always thought that it was sort of like a fantasy dream, like, oh, you know, that's kind of like being a princess, to be an artist. So my husband's actually on the call, and he surprised me a little over a year ago, but I'll get into that later. But I just want to thank him. He has been an amazing support, and I couldn't do any of this without him. So thank you, Chris. Anyway, I'll get into my slides. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Claudia, why am I not able to share my screen? What am I doing wrong?
You should be co-host. So at the bottom, do you see the button share screen? There you go.
Okay, here we go. Sorry about that.
Perfect.
So of course, as a graphic designer, I had to make myself a logo, and that's what's loading now. I needed to have a brand for myself. So I have this logo, and my website is joannmoy.com, just sort of an introduction to myself. My next slide. This is a little project that I did in my senior year at Drexel. I don't know if I said I did attend Drexel in the early 90s, graduating in 1995. At the time, it was Nesbitt College of Design Art. Now it is huge. When I was there, we had 3 majors that they offered. It was interior, graphic, and fashion. And when I started at Drexel, I really had no idea what graphic design was. I looked at the list of classes that they offered, and sort of like being a princess, I was like, I don't really like I like fashion, but I don't know that I want to draw. Like, I had no idea what any of it was. Just the list of the graphic design classes looked intriguing to me, and I jumped in. I also, I grew up in Pittsburgh, and I really didn't realize how far away Philadelphia was from Pittsburgh. Depending on how fast you drive, it's a 4 to 6 hour drive. And I had no concept. I really had my head in the clouds. So anyway, this is, Claudia, I'm getting feedback. Is there anything we can do about that?
I'm not sure why that's happening because I am muted. If everyone could just make sure that they're muted, so that we don't get any back feed, that would be great.
Okay. And please, everyone, jump in with questions along the way. And if I repeat myself or stumble, I apologize ahead of time. So let's see. One of the things that I loved to do in school, and this wasn't even for a class. Eventually, when we had sort of open-ended projects, I did incorporate these guys. But I found myself constantly drawing these images of abstract people. They consumed my notebooks, my sketchbooks. I had a huge piece of paper that took up the one wall of my bedroom. I guess my bedroom wasn't maybe that big, but I had this paper, and unfortunately, I don't have any of those things. These were some remnants that I pulled together. But these are just my people, and they, my inspiration for them, and I don't remember which came first, whether I found Keith Haring and started doing these, or I was doing these and somebody suggested to me Keith Haring, but now they're just intertwined. The art of Keith Haring. I'm going to skip ahead to my inspirations. This one on the right, on the left, this is a mural that Keith Haring did. I don't know if everyone is familiar with him. He was an activist. He died in, I think, 1990. So shortly after he did this. he was an amazing young artist. And he started doodling and making graffiti just all over the city. And that's how his art got to be known. And I do have a bunch of different styles. So Keith Haring is one of my inspirations for my abstract figures. And I'm gonna show you examples of both of my styles. Then Monet and just all the Impressionists, landscape painters. It was hard to pick one, but I chose this particular landscape to show as an inspiration because, and Chris knows this, my husband, one thing that I can't get enough of is the horizon back here, how it looks sort of blue and all these trees are lined up, and everywhere we're driving, I'm constantly like, oh, look out at the trees, look out at the horizon. Kids, look at the beautiful trees. And, you know, that's just me. And then one of my other big inspirations is Edvard Munch's The Scream. And in particular, the way that the figure is holding up their hands. And I do use the phrase "their" here in particular because it's a sexless figure. It's not intended to be a man or a woman. So with that, I had gone onto this slide because I wanted to talk about the Keith Haring. But before I forget, let me jump back.
JoAnn, I have a quick question. Would you happen to know exactly where in Philadelphia that mural is? Kim says that she's seen it before. I'm not sure.
Yes, it does still exist, I believe. I'm not sure where. I can find out though.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Well, now that we have the title, since we have the title, we can look it up. Yeah.
And I think too, you can do an image search.
Oh yeah.
On Google.
I love image search.
Yes, I use that all the time.
Amazing creation.
Yeah, so thank you for asking. That's a great question. I'm gonna jump back and just real quick show a couple paintings that I had done while I was at school. This was, actually I did this one in my apartment, not even for a class. I didn't happen to have painting that term. And you know, I just felt like painting. So I got out my huge, I always like to work big. This one was 48 by 35 inches. And then this one, I showed this one, the Shoebox Annex. I like to show this because of just how big it is. The 46 inches is the small dimension here, 72 inches being the large, obviously. And I like to remember that I carried the stretchers, the 72-inch 6-foot stretchers. I carried these on the bus through Philadelphia. And it was just quite an adventure. And some people were nice about it. Some people were like, you know, what the heck are you doing with those? Like, why are you bringing those on the bus?
School. I did the same thing, JoAnn.
Yes, it is a lot of fun. So anyway, I'll move on now to my second set of inspirations. And these are obviously inspirations for more of my abstract work. And these artists are all living and working. And I follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Mikel Elam, Claudia, is the artist actually I told you about. He has a gallery right now, right near Portside. But I just love the way he connects like the abstract with the real, like he brings in realistic features. Like you can see how realistic their eyes are in there, like that they're actually looking out at me. So hopefully you'll get to meet Mikel. Anyway, Brian Simmons is a Canadian artist. And I love that he doesn't care what color somebody's skin is in the painting, like it's blue and she's beautiful. You know, I love this bright blue night sky back there. And Yuval Ben Harosh, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. He is a French artist. And I know one of his inspirations was Picasso, the Cubist, and how this is broken up into different segments where the skin color is different colors. And I love that he just uses the simple line format. And I was actually doing this before I stumbled upon his work. But then I saw the connection, and I kept following more and more of his images. So those are sort of three people that I just love to follow and to see new work from. Let's see, so I guess I haven't really talked much about my design work. I had worked as a graphic designer for 20 years, and I hadn't done a lot of painting at all. And finally one day it clicked why I was sort of sad. I just think something was missing. And I realized what it was that was missing was my painting, that I needed to get back and do some painting. But I really had no space in my house to work. So I, just set up at the kitchen table, which was kind of right in the middle of everything, obviously. And having little kids around, I had to clean up I couldn't make too big of a mess, and I had to clean up every time I started a new session. So this was kind of hard. And I made sure to work really small when I was working at the kitchen table. These are only 12 by 12, which was hard for me because I was taught to paint with my shoulder, to paint for my whole body and not with my wrist and my fingers. So staying to these tiny canvases was really hard. But I submitted the conch shell to the Seascapes art exhibition through Light, Space, and Time, and I did get a special recognition award for that. So that was definitely motivation to keep working.
Full.
Yeah, and then so some more of my kitchen table work. This is now my abstracts. Doing these abstracts allowed me to not worry about those nitpicky details of painting with my fingertips, because the brushwork is much looser, and the shapes. It's all from imagination. I start out the figures. Sometimes I'll use a source such as a stock photo reference or family photograph reference. But then other references that I've used, though, are also Peruvian mummies. And I'll get into that in a few slides. Over the summer, this one on the left, Lost Without You, I did sell that original. And that for me was very exciting because I think it was the first abstract that I had sold. And those three images, these were featured in Outsider Art magazine in 2019. And for me, that was just oh my gosh, I'm out there, I'm out there in the world. This was, I was actually in the blog, and it's still up. If you Google my name, JoAnn Moy, and Outsider Art, my feature should come up. So again, that was just really exciting for me. I'm going to stop and take a drink of water. Excuse me. So back to the house and finding space. I dream about finding new rooms in the house. And after trying to hang shower curtains from our drop ceiling, which that was actually Chris's idea, we got magnetic hooks and put them along the frames of the drop ceiling, and we hung shower curtains from them. And I sort of had this bubble room that I worked in for a while, but it was so strange to be in there. And then eventually I worked my way into the utility closet, and I was so excited to be in there because I could get messy, and I could breathe sort of more than I could in the bubble. But it was very small. It was only 40 inches across. And as you know, I like to work big. So if you see this little round space down here, this is actually our water softener. We have hard water in Shanksville. And so we have this water softener, which came in handy in this small room because I was able to use it as a table to keep my palette and my my paint thinner. My actual tubes of paint would be on the floor at my feet. So this was a project that I did inside that room. and each panel is 30 inches across. So it was very tight in the space. I had to do a lot of wiggling and sucking it in to get around in there. But I wanted this painting to be just larger than life. The reference photo was a image of the Amazon jungle, or what these trees are. My coworker had gone on vacation with her husband, and they were sitting across the water, and they noticed that a storm had just passed, which hence the rainbow from the storm that had passed. But then there was a new storm that was coming in. So now you have all these new beautiful clouds coming in with the sun setting. And I wanted to paint it, and I wanted to paint it big. And this is actually my first landscape. And I don't really know why I had been against. Chris had suggested that I do landscapes a while before this. And I was like, oh, no, I don't do landscapes, but I do now. And I love doing them. So again, thank you to Chris for that suggestion. So now let's see. This is, my amazing husband surprised me on Christmas of 2020. Well, now Christmas 2019. Yeah, he surprised me with at least on my studio where I am now. So it was a stack of papers that and each page he had written out. It started out, "Welcome to your future," and then it was like a guessing game that I had to figure out until I got to the final page, which was a picture of the room and the building, and just it was. And I had no idea what it was going to mean and how much I was going to change in the next year. I had sold, before I had the studio, I had sold, something here and there. And I was dedicated to working, but it was hard to say I was an artist because, I don't know, I was sort of, it was still sort of that princess thing. But now I truly, I can confidently say that I'm an artist. So that's the studio. And it's
always been an artist. Now you just have a proper space for it.
I do, yes.
Artists go through this like kitchen table. Like I was telling JoAnn a couple days ago, like I am in that current phase of the kitchen table studio. So I've always been an artist, but now you have this.
Yes. Thank you, Claudia.
And your husband is so supportive. I think that's just like so awesome how much he's supporting you. And you said he's a scientist, right?
He is a scientist. Yes.
I tried.
What's that, Chris?
I try being a scientist.
He is a good scientist. So I'll tell you about the canvas that's on the easel here. This little Antechinus, a mouse-sized marsupial. I had started him at the kitchen table, and I wanted to finish him once I had the studio. So I brought him over here, and I'll tell you the inspiration for doing him, because I don't normally do animals really either. And this is really the only, other than the crabs, this is the only animal that I've done. But I did him because I wanted to make a donation to the to WIRES. It's the Wildlife Rescue Organization. It's Wildlife Information Rescue and Education Services. There was a frame shop in Conshohocken in I guess it was February 2020, that was getting together artwork for a fundraiser that was going to be held and at the Gypsy Saloon restaurant, and all that the funds would then be donated to WIRES. So that then was what this painting was. And I do have prints of this painting available because I think he's just so adorable. So anyway, finally I have a space of my own to work in. So I did a couple more big landscapes now that I had space. The one on the left, this is a room with a view. It's looking out onto Rehoboth Beach from a restaurant called the Green Turtle, one of the places that we love to go. And then this other one on the right is called Myers Treescape. And this is an image, the scene is actually in our neighborhood. If you step out our front door and walk, I don't know how many feet, it's maybe 3 houses down from where our house is. This is our view. And I'm so blessed to have so many resources at my fingertips with the nature and the beauty around us, both at the beach and in our neighborhood. So then after I did a couple of big landscapes, the world stopped and Corona hit and everybody started fighting for toilet paper. So I think a while ago I had mentioned my inspiration of the mummies. And I had found this actually a couple years ago, that Edvard Munch, when he painted the Scream, it's theorized that he was inspired to do this sexless figure. His inspiration behind them is a mummy. And there's 2 different ideas that I guess the art historians kind of argue about, debate about. And one is that he found the mummy, the Peruvian mummy, at the World Fair in 1889 in Paris. And the other thought is that he saw the Peruvian mummy in Florence, Italy. And the reason art historians are arguing about this is the placement of the hands. You see on the mummy here on the right that the hands are up closer to the face. And I'm sorry, I don't have oh, this is the one. Oh, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. We'll move on. Claudia does have links though, if you want to read up further about Edvard Munch and the exposition and all that stuff. But the reason I'm showing these things is this one. So when I was looking for new sources to paint from, I sort of felt like I exhausted, the stock photography and the magazine ads and the family photos, and I wanted to do something sort of different. So I went back to the mummies that I had started investigating a few years before. This little one on the left, I had done, you can see it's the 12 by 12, and I had done it probably about 5 years ago at the kitchen table, based on the same mummy that I used for the one on the right. So the one on the right I did maybe about a month or 2 maybe into the lockdown last spring. And I wanted to do, I wanted to do a piece that sort of spoke to how, the world was dealing with our new normal. And I felt that, the people fighting over toilet paper and, upset that they can't get their, pedicure, or they can't go and, eat out at a restaurant or whatever. The people that were upset about that were like, oh, this is terrible. And to me, this image is satirical, that like, I'm sort of making fun of them of that, oh, this is so traumatic. But then there are other people who feel this anguish in a very real way. I've experienced some mild depression on my own, but I know that there are others that have, post-traumatic stress disorder from, things like being in Afghanistan, or just having grown up in a poor environment, things like that. And this can be very real. So for some people, they look into this space and they might feel like they're looking into a mirror. So that is one of, or 2 of the mummies that I've worked with. And another mummy that I've done a couple projects on is named Maria. So Maria is interesting because there is debate whether she is actually human or if she might be perhaps part alien, which is just sort of funny. And for me, it didn't really matter. I just was interested in the way that she's sitting with her knees clenched up tight to her chin and her arms wrapped around them. And I zoomed in on her and created this painting. The composition, I wanted to keep the upper right of it empty and have her positioned so that she's coming off the canvas purposefully. And I call it twisted speculation because you can see that she's just, even without her facial features, I feel like you can see that she's just deep in thought, but her body parts are all twisted because she's holding herself so close. Then this is a second version that I did of the same mummy. You can see the different view over here on the right. So when we were first in lockdown, I felt like I couldn't produce anything. Like I didn't want to paint. I didn't want to really do anything. Chris and I spent a lot of time walking, just walking on the trails. And I spent a lot of time drinking, a lot of wine. So I would have my wine glass at the table and I would have my box of colored pencils and I would just make these doodles. And then that was my day. Because, we couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't do anything. So eventually, when I got back to my studio, I cut those doodles apart and I laid them out on the canvas and made a collage of them. And then I was looking at Maria again, and you can see this figure here on the left is really replicating her pose. And I like to break up, going back to like Brian Simmons, where he had that like light blue skin color. And I don't know that I was using light blue directly here because of Brian's work, but I just like to have different parts of the body be different colors, not necessarily by any reasoning or, it's just completely random that I chose that blue. But if you look closely at her face here, you could almost see like an eye and a mouth and the shadow of her chin. And that really is actually just coincidence. This is a scrap of magazine, some pattern from some ad, and I have no idea what magazine, but I just happened to grab it and I cut out the profile, but then after I cut it and put it on there, I realized that you really could see her face. And that just was a happy coincidence, a happy accident. One of my professors from Drexel, Sandy Stewart, would always say, "Oh, you got a happy accident." And that's exactly what happened there. And so the figure on the right, I actually just used my imagination to come up with the pose of how someone might be sitting next to Maria. And so after I had done them, I called it Beneath the Surface of Friendship, because I felt like, these two, I just feel like they have been through so much together. They're best friends. They fought, but they've loved, and they're beneath this sort of happy cloud of just friendship. So then this is the Skippack days out on the patio. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the suburbs of Philadelphia, but up here in Skippack, we have what's called Skippack days. So this building where you can see all my art is laid out. This is right next door to the barn where my studio is. So this family, that they still live in the house, the parents do anyway. They had the barn built. The barn is the building actually where my studio is. They had the barn built in the 70s as a place that would house shops. And there wasn't really a whole lot here in Skippack. And so they sort of, the story as I know it is the village kind of grew around, I'm sorry, the phone's ringing in the background. The village kind of grew around the barn. And Sylvia Wolf, who is one of the owners, was the one to start Skippack Days. And now it's a huge thing where people come from all around to visit all the vendors and shops in Skippack, because everybody's just out on the street and it's a lot of fun. Let's see. Oh, so this was a sale that I had made that day. Well, actually, I should say they, Demi and Mark that you can see here, they had made the purchase. They picked it up that day, but they had made the purchase prior, and they asked that I get it custom framed. And, you know, they gave me the price range for the frame, but they really let me pick it out. And they were just so happy and surprised when I presented it to them when they came to pick it up. And this, I did also receive another special recognition award, also from Light, Space, and Time. And this was called the 9th and All Women Art Exhibition. So I felt lucky to be acknowledged in that exhibition. This is something that I did recently, excuse me. Sorry, drink of water. So this is something that I had done recently. This is actually a collage with acrylic paint. This is Amanda Gorman. She is the youth laureate poet who gave the wonderful inauguration speech at President Biden's inauguration. So when I first saw her, I was just so enamored by her poise and her poem, obviously, just her way of presenting, and just how far that she had come at such a young age. And I felt like I wanted to do something to honor that. So I found this image by a photographer, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the original photographer's name, but I do have him cited on my website and my Instagram. But so anyway, I had this beautiful piece of shimmering brown paper. It wasn't sparkly, but it had like a shimmer to it. And when I first started out, when I first dove into this project, I felt like I wanted to use that paper for her skin. So that's why I did a collage and not just a painting. So you can see her arm and her face. The highlights in her hair are where I didn't paint. So that's the, that shimmer from the paper is really coming through. So this piece did sell not too long after I finished painting it. And half of the proceeds went to Beyond Baroque, which is an organization in Los Angeles that Amanda supports. And the other half of the proceeds will go to Philadelphia Reads. And we're gonna wait until the spring to do that once everything opens up. From the pandemic, of course. Then these two works I've also done recently. What's Happened, Baby Girl? This is an image based on a magazine ad that I had found. And the image sort of connected to me because I have a daughter that is very similar in age to the young girl here. And my daughter can be emotional, as Chris knows, her father. And it's, you know, sometimes, you know, we all just need a hug, and I don't know. So I had gotten her face and the mom's face, I had gotten them sort of locked in. And then I realized I wanted to make this more of a statement piece and not just, you know, a pretty picture to go on the wall. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I woke up in the middle of the night one night thinking of this plant that we had on the shelf downstairs in the kitchen that had been struggling to live for quite some time. So I took a picture of it and brought that picture back to the studio and made the dead vines and leaves. Well, the leaves aren't quite dead yet, but the plant was on its way out. And has since gone into the garbage can. But anyway, with Earth Day coming up this weekend, I believe, it was just an image that spoke out to me. And there's an organization called Climate Reality that I will be submitting this image to. Tomorrow is the deadline. So that will be going tomorrow and hopefully be accepted to be shown with that group. And this is an image. I had started this a couple years ago, but I was never happy with it. Behind her head is just a yellow block circle, more similar to my other abstracts where it didn't have this sort of realistic piece to it. But I was never happy with it and I couldn't figure out why. And then it's just sort of, it was one of those things that clicked. I realized I need to add some this image for some reason needs features and I don't know why, but I really like the image now. And I call it I Am Here, Caroline. Chris's sister, a couple years ago, survives breast cancer. And, we are just so thankful that she is still with us. And she, of course, was honored to have her name be in one of my paintings. And she suggests, I asked her, if she had any ideas of, what foundation or organization I could submit this to. And she's thinking Susan Komen, the Susan Komen Foundation. So I haven't made any phone calls or had any time to investigate that yet, but the proceeds will be donated to that organization. And now the Green Wolf 4010 Gallery. Claudia knows a little bit about the 4010 Gallery. So this is a space right on the other side of my studio wall. Right now, it's just a big empty room. This was up in February, I guess February through March. And the space had become available at the end of January. And we said, hey, let's make a gallery because we have this big empty room and it makes a perfect gallery. So we, I called a bunch of artists, some that I knew, some that I didn't. And I said, we have this space. Can you get your stuff down here in a couple of weeks? And, we're going to open up this pop-up gallery. And it was such a success. We had a ton of people come through. And we made some good sales too. So it was very exciting. My landlord, Craig, and I are in the midst of finalizing a contract that will be offered out to artists. We would like to continue the space as a co-op gallery, but there's nothing has been finalized yet. So if you are an artist and would like to, participate in our co-op gallery, just reach out to me. You can send me an email, however you can get in touch with me. Would definitely
have someone who's interested.
Yes, absolutely. So anyway,
and I'll is it okay if I put your email in the chat for everyone if they're interested?
JoAnn? Yeah, that would be perfect.
Okay, great.
And that's the end of my slides. I feel like I have talked everyone's ear off. But I guess we can close up the slides, Claudia, and just talk, or do people have questions and we want to go back to particular slides?
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone has any questions, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, or you can put some questions in the chat. Any questions or comments?
I love your I love your work.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And this is I introduced you to her earlier, Kim. She's the
hi, Kim.
director of Portside.
Hi, Kim. It's nice to see you.
Oh, you too. Thank you. The art is beautiful.
Thank you very much.
I agree.
There.
I don't know if I can be heard.
We can hear you, Chris.
We can hear you.
Oh, you can. Oh, okay.
Hi, Chris.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed by, especially the Keith Haring-esque figures.
Thank you. Thank you.
I really I like Keith Haring. I wish I could say I did, work like that, but I like what you took from that and how you ran with that. That was really impressive. So
thank you.
Congratulations. And I especially I'm pointing at the one's Twisted Speculation. Is that the one?
Twisted Speculation.
I like that one a lot. Yeah.
Yes.
And your landscapes are great.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Yeah, I do
An amazing artist.
I do urban landscapes, you know.
You do
so-
urban landscapes.
Yeah, 'cause I never get out, so I
The
never get out of
urban
the city.
landscapes are very hard for me to do the architecture. I
It's a
find
bunch of
that-
rectangles.
What's that?
Yeah, it's yeah. I'm working on one now, and I'm getting really fatigued with doing chain link fencing. So
Yeah, there's so much more detail that
yeah, well,
with nature landscapes, you can be more fluid, and it doesn't really matter. The perspective doesn't have to be as perfect, I feel like, and the lines are very straight. Actually, the Amanda Gorman one is, I think, the first urban sort of landscape I had done, and I really struggled trying to get the lines and the details of the buildings. Like, I didn't want it to be super detailed, but I wanted it to look
yeah,
sort
yeah.
of accurate. Yeah.
The problem, of course, with urban landscapes is you start getting a little bit rigid with that too. Well, you do landscapes very well. You do. I wouldn't say that that's all that amorphous. I mean, I've seen it done poorly. So.
Thank you very much.
Who does? I was studying the foliage of all people that Thomas Akins used to handle foliage in a certain way, and it's the last thing you look at for Thomas Akins. But yeah, if you look at that, so there's tree forms against the sky and so forth. That's important. That's
Yes.
So you do that well. So
thank you very much.
My hat off if I had it. So,
I really appreciate your comments. Thank you.
So, all right. Well, I have to go here. I'm watching my grandson.
Enjoy your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. How do I?
JoAnn, Chris is a teacher of ours. He's amazing. He's an amazing artist.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look up his work.
Yeah. If you look on,
we actually he had an artist talk. I think he was maybe the third artist talk we had. If you look on how to find us on the artist talk page.
Yes. So Chris Windle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yes, I'll definitely look into that.
Very nice job, JoAnn. I didn't know about the mummies.
Oh, how are you, Sharon?
That was really cool to learn about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, very nice job.
The great thing about artist talks is, if I looked at your work and looked at your website, I did before I spoke with you and knew your content, but I never would have known that your source material was mummies, and it's super cool to talk to you and learn that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice when there's a story behind the art. Sometimes you put it up and it's just like, oh, that's cool. But then if the tragedy or the triumphs or, the gathering of materials or, your inspiration, it makes the person more attached and more consumed with that particular art. That's a great concept. Yeah. Very, very awesome, JoAnn. I'm really happy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, maybe perhaps you would consider being our artist of the month down at Cherry Street Pier.
Maybe. I'll definitely talk to you about it.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you reached out to me.
Yes. Yeah, I had found you through watching another artist, Sarah Eberle.
Eberle, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I didn't know how to say it.
She's the manager up Cherry Street Pier.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell me about Cherry Street Pier.
Cherry Street Pier is on 121 North Columbus Boulevard. It's right next to the Vine Street Pier and right underneath the Ben Franklin Bridge. And it has, I think it's 16 studios, and they're made out of cargo containers.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, so it's 2 stories. So it has a really cool open air area on the first floor where we are now currently teaching children, teen, and adult classes. And we also have a upholstery class 3 times. Yeah. So it's really it's an amazing venue. We feel very fortunate to be in there, and it gives us the opportunity to showcase other artists. So it's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would love to be a part of that.
With the co-op. And you might have told me about this before, but I was just like, you're working in a studio with other artists, right? Like next to other studios?
Actually, no. Right now it's only me in the shop. I believe though that Craig's the landlord. I believe that he would open up some space if another artist wanted to make studio space in here as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be so cool if you could get like a bunch of members of your co-op and get them together in the same space.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it would be fun.
Events planned or any future programming?
We have some things. Well, Skippack, of course, has their events and festivals throughout the spring and summer.
First Fridays.
Yes, exactly. First Friday. Thank you, Sharon. Sharon actually and I are hoping to do an art hunt in the fall. Sharon, do you want to talk a little bit about the art hunt? Do you mind?
Yeah. 3 or 4 years ago, we started it, and we had a group. We got a bunch of artists together to each submit 2 or 3 pieces, and then we contacted all the shops in Skippack and asked them to contribute prizes. We put the artwork in the shops and gave people a list of the shops and a list of the artworks and told them you had to go out and find them. And with each piece of artwork, there was a clue on the tag. And when you put all the clues together, you came up with a secret phrase, and everybody who handed in their list of the artworks that they found and the phrase got to be entered for the prizes. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, it sounds like fun. Art scavenger hunt. That's
yeah, we had done it in March, which is when the merchants in Skippack wanted some foot traffic. And we had some of the coldest weather and snowy weather and stuff. But it was still fun for the people that did it.
Right. Yeah. So last year it got skipped over because of the pandemic. And then this year we had the gallery going on, the pop-up, and then we were like trying to scramble to get it in for maybe the spring. And we just decided to put it off until the fall.
Well, it sounds like you're doing some fun things down there.
We are, yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else that I have coming up.
Wait, JoAnn?
Yeah.
Are you going to do anything in Bethany or Rehoboth?
I don't have anything set. There's probably some galleries down there that I could reach out to, but I haven't yet. I have a list of deadlines that I plan on submitting. There's a Cerulean gallery. Chris, do you remember where that is?
Yeah, it was on 18th Street.
Yeah, they have a open call. And Claudia, I'll give you the link to that as well. They have an open call that I'll be submitting to. So I would love to get in there too. They are a collaborative gallery. No, is that what no, he said it's a collective. They're a collective as opposed to a co-op, which, but then they do have open calls as well to outside artists. So the collective, and I only just learned this, a collective means that the artists don't have to, well, they don't want the artists to be working in the space. Like the artists just bring their work and then the gallery owners hang it and do all that stuff. Where with our space being a co-op, we need the artists' help because we don't have enough staff. Here we have no staff. It's me. So, you know, we need people to be working the gallery hours, hanging the art, tracking the stuff, really what a gallery employee would do. So yeah, that's important to know if you're interested in joining our co-op. But anyway, but so Sarah Elaine Gallery does have an open call that I'll be submitting to, and I would like to get into that. There's somebody asking a question on the chat. Oh, I think it's just Sharon saying that she was going. Yes. Thank you, Sharon.
Does anyone have any more questions for JoAnn before we wrap up?
Oh, JoAnn, are you the one who contacted Sarah?
I was trying to, yes. And I saw that she had clicked on one of my links for this talk. So I feel like I think that she knows who I am, but she never did reach out to me about being in the co-op. So I don't know if she's not in.
I will see her today.
We'll
We're going to
remind
take
her.
the kids to Cherry Street Pier for a little run
She's
around
a busy
time.
woman.
And
Oh, I'm sure. I know she has a little,
I'll give her a friendly nudge.
Yes, I know that she's a young mom and it's very busy. I have been there.
Yeah, we have her son in our creative classrooms.
Oh, nice. How old is he?
A fellow artist mom.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
It is tough.
You know how hard it can be. Yeah. So we applaud you for making it work. How old are your kids?
12 and 15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're big kids
Well,
now.
a little easier in some ways, I guess.
Yeah.
It was great for to see your work and to learn a little bit more about you, and for you to learn a little bit more about us. It would I would love to, maintain a relationship.
Absolutely.
With and keep in touch. We would love if you could come and visit us down at Cherry Street Pier. And
even be a guest artist to
I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to applaud you for making donating the proceeds to some of your art to
I was going to say the same thing.
Very worthy causes. That's amazing. It's
really
I'm trying for sure.
Very generous.
Yeah, the starving artist is so it's so true. We're seeing
it is hard to do for sure. I am blessed that I have Chris behind me. So I'm able to do things like donating the proceeds, but I understand that not everybody has the advantage of doing that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I love the colors that you use with the oil, and it's really beautiful.
You guys have a similar color palette.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I like the colors too. Yeah.
I always try to say that I just paint what I see, but then looking back, I'm like, wow, what were my eyes really seeing? Like I saw that differently than the camera did or whatever. But yeah, I guess it's just my style.
That's cool.
Thank you.
We watch the kids too develop their own style here.
That's interesting for sure.
At 4 years old, they have their own style. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. And you will give them the kids 4 crayons and a white piece of paper. And there's 12 different or 24 different.
Yep.
Totally different.
And that all is innate because they haven't really been taught yet.
Yep.
That just comes automatically. Yeah. Both of my kids are artists. My son hasn't done much work lately, but when he was little, oh my gosh, he would sit at the table for 4 hours at a time and not even get up to go to the bathroom. We have stacks of his artwork that he would never want to get rid of. And it's we need to build an addition onto the house to hold it. And then my daughter, she goes in phases. She likes to draw and paint for sure. But she's a character, right, Chris?
Without a doubt.
So I want to
She's
thank
pretty
you
good at
so
drawing,
much.
though. She's pretty talented.
She is. She really is. Yeah, they both are. Yeah.
Well, JoAnn, thank you so much for being with us.
And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Awesome. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. It was nice meeting you both.
Thank you for everyone for joining. Oh,
and one more thing. Yeah, we're having the third Sunday marketplace over at the Cherry Street Pier from 12 to 5 on Sunday. So we'll be having local artists and artisans be selling their wares and goods and stuff. So just putting that out there in case you and Chris don't have anything to do.
Thank you. That's every third Sunday?
Your woman, Chris. Good job, Chris.
Is that every third Sunday?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They have like actually the Philly Pops are going to be there too.
Wow.
They have the marketplace the first Friday they have, and then they have third Sunday. And then every weekend they have something really cool going on. They have different bands. They have orchestra. The Philly Pops coming there on Sunday at I think 1:00 back in the garden.
Nice.
A really cool venue there. They can do anything because it's so large, and it's also like open air but closed air.
And
So
that
it's,
marketplace is open to all artists, right? Like she can
Yeah,
sign
yeah.
up to
You
do
can-
it. It's not
yeah.
just like the artists at Cherry Street. It's open to
Oh, nice.
anyone who wants to.
Yeah, and last
sign
weekend they had 1,300 people come through on Saturday, and then I think
Wow.
so they're having a lot of people coming through there. So
Yeah,
That's
with the
great.
nicer weather and like restrictions easing up,
Mhm.
it's
That's very exciting.
yeah, more and more people are going down there. It's a beautiful, spacious
Yeah,
place. Like
yeah.
it's inside, but it's basically outside. It's like not closed in, like
Open air.
yeah.
they redid
Nice.
it. So they put all glass. In the summertime, in the spring, they'll be all the doors are all big glass garage doors all through the whole pier. So you
Oh,
open them up and you can look right on the river. And all the natural
Nice.
light. And yeah, we're going to take the kids down there now. I'm going to play freeze tag.
fun. Yeah,
Sounds
Chris,
like
we
about
definitely
fun.
have to get down there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, definitely.
I have to run. I'll see you guys.
All right. Thanks for
Okay.
joining us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a great day. Thank you.